Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be talking about some of the main things I've learned so far about carrying low elo support, because it really is a lot different. So the only role I've struggled on so far has been support. I'm playing all solo queue. I've gotten to Diamond 4 with every account. My mid lane account's Diamond 2, everything else Diamond 4 right now on our climb. Obviously, Diamond early season's a bit, different than Diamond late season, of course, but still. So we've gotten to Diamond 4, and the only role we struggled with was support. Because of that, I have a lot of opinions on then figuring out what actually worked for me versus what didn't really work. So rather than going over a lot of this early gameplay, I'm going to give you guys more of an explanation on that, and then we'll go into the gameplay a bit more later on. So some of the main things I found is that actually just locking in a carry support every game isn't necessarily the best strategy for climbing. I was locking in stuff like Pike and Karma a lot, trying to see how hard I could carry, had a lot of, or a lack of success. And then once I ended up playing a lot more of Thresh, I ended up actually succeeding a lot more. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So the first thing is Galio's Aegis. So Galio's Aegis, while I don't think it's a good thing for the game, I don't like it, it exists, it's in the game. If you don't know what that means, it means that if you get an S rating, which is better than 90% or more of players on your champion at your rank, then you do get loss protection. If you do better than 80%, which is A rating, then you get 300 fortitude, which is half of what you need to get a loss protection. And so basically, if you're playing consistently well, having good KDAs, and doing what your job is to support, you're actually going to just naturally kind of climb anyway, even if you don't have an insane win rate. Like, I think my win rate was 64 by the time I 64.6 by the time I got to Diamond, which again is a lot lower than my other accounts that were 70, 80 plus. But we still made it there, right? With a high win rate and with consistent gameplay. And I had an insane amount of S rating losses actually on this account. But because they were S rating, I didn't lose marks. So I was actually still able to climb relatively fast. So a lot of people say, like, you have to play these carry champions. I don't really agree. And there's a few reasons I don't agree. Again, the Galio's Aegis. But it's also, you're just not able to do much early. So, like, if I don't get fed on a Pike early, I'm kind of useless. If I don't get fed as a Karma early, I don't do as much for a while, and then I have to wait until later on in the game to farm up. And if I wanted to farm up and carry a game, I would just play another role. I don't really see the purpose of, like, playing support just to lock in these hyper carry champions, because if you really like the role, then you wouldn't. And also, I suck. I don't know why I entered like that, by the way. But if you really like the role, I don't see a reason for wanting to only play carry champs. Like, then just play a carry role. That would just be more enjoyable. Like, that would be more fun, because then you actually get to carry from the role properly. That's what the role is built around. Support role is really not built around carrying in the sense of damage. The ways that I found I could actually carry a lot more were playing champions that were really strong early game, so I could impact the lane phase really heavily, and then champions who have that agency to actually engage, like Thresh. There are a lot of games where I'm able to save a bunch of teammates' lives with my lantern, a bunch of games, when they actually know that it exists and take it, and there are a bunch of games where I'm able to make a bunch of insane hooks and plays and whatever. And I'm purposely showing you guys a game where I messed up. Obviously, early game I played bad, I made mistakes, and it was by no means perfect. And the reason I'm showing you this type of game is to show you a lot of times how even the later parts of the game, you can come back or play from even or behind as support if you're making the proper engages, playing around your team, and kind of waiting for this one kind of key play. So again, basically the main things that I wanted to point out initially. The best types of champions are not necessarily just solo carry 1v9 champions and support, because you should just play another role if you want to do that. The best type of champions are champions that can impact the game early while still being able to make engages and plays later. So a champion like Thresh, a champion like Poppy, like Nautilus. These champions can do a lot right away, but they can also scale up and help your team out a bunch. So that is, in terms of champion choice, definitely what I have learned so far. Climbing in support in low elo, generally speaking. Again, just having the agency to make a play like this, for example, I get my teammate to the Blitzcrank, I hook the Blitzcrank in, and we just generally make a pretty good play for our team, and then Kai'Sa ends up going in, so we're able to kill the Kai'Sa there too. I do miss the hook, because I'm a boosted trash player who's really bad. But team, obviously ends up getting the kills there, and again, a lot of it is just due to that setup. The reality is, if you're in Plat, you're in Emerald, you're in Gold, your opponents are in Plat, Emerald, Gold, whatever rank you are. And so they're going to make just as many mistakes, which means the carries on the enemy team are also going to make just as many mistakes. So if you are playing, better than the enemy support, naturally you're going to climb with above 50% win rate, often much higher. Because again, here it's 60 whatever percent win rate, but that is a lot of me losing on like Pyke or Karma early on as well. And so I think people just have this obsession with solo carrying games when the reality is like you're in the rank you're in, the other players are also in the rank they're in. If you play well around your carries, you're going to give them a lot of agency to make things happen. Now, playing something like Lulu or Yumi, you're going to have almost no agency. So then you don't really have much, ways or many ways to show off your actual skill or to like, kind of carry your teammates. So you still need to play a champion that can make plays and that can make things happen, but it doesn't have to be Pyke or Karma or Zyra, or Swain or whatever every game. If you want to win, you can still play these playmaking champs. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at early. I know I kind of took a long time to explain that, but I do think it's really important to mention, just focusing on playing properly. And then another really important thing is playing around your strong members. So when you have, an ADC maybe doing bad, for example, the Tristana here, you don't need to stick around, especially past the lane phase. Here I did try to, see if I could prevent them from getting the turret here. That was kind of my goal. Didn't succeed in that. But after the early game, kind of goes bad and your teammate's not doing well in lane, try playing around someone else. So again, here at this point, game hasn't gone super well. Lane hasn't gone super well. So I'm going to play around someone who's maybe doing better, who's stronger, rather than continuing to follow my bad player over and over again. So for example, here, I can go help out the Kennen. In this case, there's a team fight going on, so I'm kind of going to go to the team fight, obviously. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, so at this point now, we kind of want to play more around, our teammates who are better. We don't want to just keep playing around our, not very good Tristana. Here, we just find an easy pick. Again, just taking advantage of the simple overextensions the enemy make too. Like, very often, they are going to overextend in this ELO. You're going to find a lot of picks, a lot of ways to make plays on the enemy, and you do that even if you're missing hooks like I am in this game. You're making dumb mistakes. A lot of times you can come back to, like, that's another thing, having good enough mental to just take advantage of the enemy throws. Because the difference is when the enemy gets really fed in this ELO, they easily throw. Like, I had a game where there was like a 20k gold Zed and no one on my team was past like 15k and it looked unwinnable. But then all of a sudden he started, just randomly dying because he was just like a low-ranked player. He's an Emerald player who just happened to get fed. And when that happens, you find 1 point of CC on them, you get your team to one-shot them, and then all of a sudden the game turns around really quickly. Even this play around Herald, the enemy overextend with their lead, with their advantage. They don't buy their items properly. They don't recall, whatever. We're able to catch them out. We get a double kill over to Tristana, and even though Tristana is awful and doing really bad, the opponents are also awful. Like, everyone is bad. So I'm making just simple plays, nothing complicated, looking for engages on people when they overextend, and just through doing that simple thing, even again, and I wanted to show you guys this game again, because like, I'm missing hooks. My mechanics are bad this game. My teammates are not playing well. So many negative things are happening, and the game is still this close, because most of the time the enemy are as bad. Now, there's going to be games where the enemy are just significantly better. Maybe there's a Smurf on the enemy team. Maybe they just happen to be way better for whatever reason. And the issue with a lot of people's mindsets is when those types of games happen, they get overly bogged down on the fact that they can't win every game and can't carry every game. Support simply can't carry every game. If you have no teammates and all of your teammates are playing really bad, you're probably not going to solo carry the game. Whereas in like a role like jungle, I can usually solo carry really bad teammates. But that's why your purpose is not to get a 95% win rate. Your purpose is to, is to climb, which you can do with the 55, 60% win rate. And again, if you're winning the winnable games and then you're making the impact through your decision making and engage in the like close games, like this game, for example, again, even if I made a lot of mistakes, I'm now starting to find some great engages and picks onto the enemy during really key moments. We're picking off the Lilia there. We made the engage for our team around the Herald. And just these couple little plays are really what end up being kind of the deal breaker. And so just having the understanding of, essentially, if I were to boil it down to a few things, having the understanding of what objective or teammate to play around. So go to Herald when your jungler is strong and going for Herald. Play around whoever your strongest member is. Don't stick around your bad ADC past 6 minutes when the objective spawns. Understanding that, and then understanding target priority. So make the game really hard for the enemy carry. When the enemy Zed is really fed, make sure you're trying to CC them or catch them out when they go back to their clone, or whatever you can do. Itemize against the enemy carry. Make sure you have the anti-heal for that fed Aatrox, for example. Those types of things, those simple things, just proper playing around your strong points, rotating to objectives, being there on time, picking these strong laners so you can kind of impact the game early, and then the proper target priority. If you're doing these things, you're going to climb on support for the most part. And again, you're playing these more impactful engaged champions. So Thresh, Maokai, Nautilus, all those types of things to me feel a lot better. Don't know why I flashed there. Again, you can see how many mistakes I'm making. And I want to point this out again, like I make a lot of mistakes in a lot of different games, and I'm still able to climb pretty fast. Again, didn't climb as fast on this role as the other roles, and of course had a lot more, not as good games. But we're still able to, even when we mess up our flash, even when we're missing things in lane, we're still 3, 2, and 6, making engages for our team around the map. And now we're ready for, an easy objective where we can zone out the Lilia or, look for any CC or anything like that. And so again, we just find the simple pick onto the Lilia because we know she's coming. Our teammate gets the Lantern, and boom, it's an easy kill. We find these random picks around the objectives, and really all we're doing is we're on the objective before it's spotting. We're getting vision around the that area, and then we're just looking for whatever target we can find. And it's really that simple a lot of the time. Even there, like you saw me look for that hook on the Zyra, I missed it, but I think that shows kind of like my vision in these fights. I'm not just looking for the tank. I wasn't just hooking Blitzcrank, for example. I'm looking for that Zyra in the fight because I know that target is the one that really can win us the fight, rather than focusing on engaging on the tanks, for example. So even just veering your team in the right direction, or steering your team in the right direction rather, through just engaging on the proper targets and CCing them is all you need. And then people are going to say, well, Talon, my teammates don't follow up, whatever. I totally understand. Go watch my stream VODs. Some of these games frustrated the hell out of me. You could see me engaging and teammates do nothing, and all these other things, right, where I carry way harder than this game, where my teammates aren't, that bad for the ELO, and where I'm getting the S rating losses, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's not about winning every game. It's about winning more than you lose. That is the simplest thing. And so even here, my teammates randomly go bot lane for no reason. And what I'm doing here is just making sure the enemy don't sneak a Baron, because I see my teammates doing some really dumb stuff for no reason on the wrong side of the map. All I do is I make sure the enemy don't go to Baron, and then we end up finding a pick onto the Zyra because she's overextended in mid lane. So my teammates randomly overextending in bot lane for no reason while Baron was up ends up leading to me getting a pick, because I have the awareness that yes, we might lose the Baron here if the enemy don't, if the enemy go for it. And so I need to get vision around there, and then it gives me the opportunity to get the pick. And then we just rotate towards the Scion, get the simple pick on him. So just picking the overextended member too leads to us being able to find a bunch of free angles, and then we're able to find that angle onto the Lilia as well. We miss our flash hook because again, we suck at Wild Rift, if you guys didn't know. And overall, I mean, again, it works out really, really nicely. And all we're really doing is taking advantage of simple plays, catching out the enemy when they overextend, getting vision around the key objectives, being on the objectives as they're spawning. Again, I'm having the vision and I'm being around that Baron when I think they might sneak it. Again, going to the Dragon 10 seconds beforehand so I can catch out that Lilia earlier on. And all these simple things, they lead to us being able to win games. It's not going to feel as great as when I can go, 18-0 on Chase top lane, or completely 1v9 a game on Vi jungle, because you don't have as much agency in this role. But again, if you want to play this role, this is what you need to understand. You're not the solo carry. You're trying to just steer your teammates in the correct direction through these various decisions that you see me making, getting my team, the vision around the objectives, making sure, again, we play around the strong members. We pick these champions that have some level of agency and way to engage. I don't just have to be a damage dealer. You can carry in other ways. And again, we climbed really, really quickly from Emerald 4 to Diamond 4 once we started playing Thresh. Again, I had like kind of a 1 day period where I was actually losing a lot, and then the next day we kind of lock in a bunch of Thresh. I lost some games on Thresh like that day that I was losing a bunch, but then we lock in Thresh and keep carrying on him, and we end up getting a bunch of S ratings and just a bunch of wins. And then Kennen finds an amazing engage here, and we just follow up. Again, we can take advantage of our teammates making plays. Like the enemy, they make a lot of overextensions in this type of elo. So a lot of times you're able to find those picks onto them, and sometimes your teammates are the ones who find them. And as long as you're there to follow up, that type of thing, that's going to be good enough. I don't have to just be like, yeah, my teammates are always bad, they're never going to do anything good. Sometimes, your Kennen does make a really good play and pop off, and that's just reality. And again, even here, like around an objective is spawning, I'm zoning to make sure they don't randomly steal an objective, because a lot of times your Plat and Emerald junglers forget the smite, or they just don't have smite or whatever. And so even just looking for that Zyra and zoning her, that's a chance to stop a throw that could have happened. I'm not saying my teammate would have thrown, but they totally could have. And just having those little awarenesses as a support it slowly increases your win rate again, because maybe doing that zoning thing only really matters to impact the game's outcome 1 in every 25 games. Well, then boom, my win rate's already going up by, if I win every 1 in 25 games more, it's going up by what, like 4% or something, 2%, one or the other. But you get the point. Like I'm climbing a lot quicker and my win rate's going up a lot more just if I get these simple things, and then you do all these different random little things, and that's how you inch your win rate up. Again, you're not going to have a 90% win rate on this roll, even if you're a Smurf for the most part, unless you're like really good at something like Pike, because if you want to like completely 1v9 a Smurf game, you do kind of need to be doing that damage dealing stuff. But again, if it's actually like your real rank, for example, it's better to play this type of way. And then we find, again, a really good engage. Kennon's really good to follow up there. Nothing too complicated. We're on the objectives, and the objectives are spawning. We're using our CCM people. We're making sure we're aware of these basic things, and boom, we're able to end the game and win. And we do get the MVP, so we can pretend like we didn't make any mistakes, because it said that we got MVP, and what MVP means is that you're perfect and you made 0 mistakes. That's how that works, if you guys didn't know. So I have this support gameplay, and then we'll probably be getting into some mid lane content now as we climb mid lane to Masters, and then moving on to whatever role next after that. So again, trying to get every role to Sovereign on different accounts, solo queue only. We'll see how far we're able to get. I know it's a really tough challenge, but we're just wanting to see how far we can get and hope that we can obviously achieve it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.